3 years ago, and I did one on public fursuiting. And I talked about it, and I talked about how our group was going to be doing a flash mob in the park in Cocoa Village, and there was a young fur from the west coast of Florida who was very excited about the idea of doing a flash mob. And he decided he was going to join us that Sunday. Right. He showed up 2 hours early in a custom species suit with a police tactical vest, an airsoft pistol, and an airsoft rifle. And he walked into the park alone, 2 hours early. And for some reason, the public was a little alarmed by this.
Yeah, no clue. You got some weird gear on.
It's all context at that point. He was completely out of context. And one of the ways I often explain to the people who hear this story, they go, well, you know, if a Civil War reenactor showed up in the park by himself with a musket or a revolver, right, people would probably look at him pretty weird. Yeah. If an entire squad of Civil War reenactors showed up in the park, makes sense, no one would bat an eye, right, because they were obviously doing something interesting. Yeah. And in the sense of when you're fursuiting, it's very similar to that thing. You have to have context. Yeah. In his particular case, the police were called. They responded. They took him into custody as gently as they felt. He was actually charged with misdemeanor disturbing the peace. Oh, wow. Felony commission of a misdemeanor while wearing a hood or mask. And held in, the judge denied bond at the first bond hearing. I ended up writing the state's attorney explaining what cosplay was, what fursuiting was, how he came to be from Tampa into Cocoa Beach. And he was eventually released.
Does he still have a felony charge?
I think they dropped the charges, but it was just one of the things. He was in jail for a week. Yeah, his family had to pay for a lawyer, everything else. Now, had he shown up at the same time as we were with potential handlers, he would have immediately been told, put those back in the car, and things would have gone an entirely different way. But it's one of those things that we often forget. There's a lot of responsibility on that handler who's traveling with you. Right. Very often when I'm handling, I start my dialogue with whoever I'm handling with directions in the sense of 12, 3, 9, 6. You know, their vision's not that good, so I can go, hey, you got a curb coming up at 12 o'clock. Right. Little girl, 3 o'clock low. You might not even see them. But they're able to turn and look, right, and get a feel for, okay, there's a kid there. Right. I need to pantomime at something that I can't see. We've given them some false drills sometimes, and it's kind of fun to watch them do that as well. But you have a lot of faith in your handler. Yeah. But it's more than just that. They have to be able to talk for you. Right. You know, when you have a costume character and it's just there, and you're just kind of sitting there silently on your cell phone, not doing anything, it doesn't help. But, oh, have you met my friend Bio? Yeah, he's a husky. Oh, don't worry, he's friendly. Yeah. And, of course, at that point, Bio, who's not in suit today, would be, of course, mimicking and going in with that and reacting well. So it's one of the things that it really helps out on that level. Some of the handlers that we use actually are also cosplayers that don't happen to be in obstructing masks. So they're actually able to fully see and interact. Come on in, guys. Plenty of cheap seats up front. This is Handlers, the Unsung Heroes. But, you know, we have one handler that often dresses up like Alice or Joy from Inside Out. We have another one that's actually a steampunk character, and not only are they able to cosplay themselves, but they're able to help portray our characters and navigate and keep us safe. The whole aspect of it is, even with our group, we often think of our experience levels in 3 grades. You have your A suiters that are like, I need a handler in the room. You have our B characters. I need a handler within 10 yards. Our novice characters. I need a handler within reach. And sometimes it'll even play it off. One of our more experienced suitors was at a family expo, and this little girl walked up to him and gave him a full-out right-hand cross hook into the testicles. This is her beginning with him. And his handler was distracted. And he eventually had to block off the little girl, tell her to stop, break in character completely, turned her around to her mother and said, "Control your child." Now, that, of course, is a more gruff occasion where if had a handler been available, "Why are you doing that to my friend? Stop hurting my friend. Where's your parent? Don't make me tase you." Hello. Ta-da! Another good use of a handler, navigating through seats. Always a challenge. Hi, welcome to the panel. We had a little bit of timing confusion. A bunch of our other guys are thinking it was at 5:30, so they're on their way. My mindset completely threw out the window. But handlers are important for that, of being able to talk for you, watch out for you. Another one is they're great at regulating how long you're actually being out. Most of us generally start noticing, hey, I can feel my pulse rate coming through my temples, I'm going into heat exhaustion, and I need to get out of here. Hello.
Hi, sir.
A good handler can actually know you and go, well, you know, you've been at this for 45 minutes, it's 90 degrees. Maybe you should take in a water break. But it's one of the things that also with the communication with your handler is also knowing what signs mean what. A lot of people automatically know the universal, "I'm thirsty," or ASL, water. One of the ones frequently used by Disney, and we also use it, is this. There are no occasions I can think of where you can actually accidentally find yourself in this position. This is, "Get me the hell out of here." This is the moment for your handler to look at you and go, "Oh no, Bio, did you get something in your eye? Let me get you out of here. Let's take a look at that." And it allows you to gracefully exit from a scenario. They're basically your personal private lifeguard, concierge, and translator. Because sometimes pantomime just doesn't come through with what you actually may be wanting to say to someone, or you might not see the low-lying furniture, or as I brought up earlier today, we went to one event, and usually before we go to an event, we walk through an area to make sure it's safe, out of suit. You know those little green beans, green bean weeds that had little stick pods? It's usually about 6 or 7 little things. We didn't realize it, but there was one field that was nothing but that. And one of us walked through it in fur. You've never seen black paws with a green subliner. It looked like I had an inch worth of green molding on the bottom of them. And I'm still picking the seeds out. But it's one of those things, though, that you have to remember, especially if you're going to be suiting in public, have a handler. Because if you're, in the case here like the con, half the people here know what you're going through in suit. They know you have limited visibility. They know that you have limited hearing. They know that you're maneuvering a little bit awkwardly. And they're sympathetic. And if you start exhibiting signs of duress, most of them go, "Oh, you need help." Great example here. We have the straw technique. Ta-da! There we go. Now you need the drink. Nope. Okay. Ah, okay. So, I'm thrown off by the whole time shift. Oops. Does anyone actually have any specific questions while I'm prattling on up here? You almost did. I saw that look.
Oh, well, I picked up a lot from Fursuiting in public.
Ah, okay. Yeah, we are overlapping a little bit on a lot of the different panels. There's a lot of misadventures that we like to at least share so someone else doesn't have to do them. So a lot of the panels we've been doing have been overlapping on a lot of the themes, primarily because of the whole safety aspect of it. Another example of I went to an event. They were showing Shrek in the park, and I went to it with Bo Goat. We were light staffed that night, so the two of us went. We decided we were both going to suit simultaneously, and we stayed in close orbit of each other. But at one point, we broke. Bo was smart. He stayed closer to the main body where the parents were. I made the mistake of going out in the field where the children were playing. When was the last time anyone read Lord of the Flies? The further you start gravitating from adults, the more the law of the wild takes place. At that point, I think I had someone on a tail, someone else on an ear, and someone was working on an eye before I managed to scramble out and make my way back to the civilized territory. But it goes to show, even with experience, you need a handler. One of those classic, oops, I shouldn't have done that. The suit survived. But I'm drawing a blank. It's been a very long day. And we have a suitor. Yay! Except I'm going to abuse you. Come on down. Yes, I know. It's one of the things that I've got Thumper and Bio here to help us out a little bit. And we have now the benefit of a suitor. Ta-da! Some classic examples of good handler, bad handler. Who wants to be good? Who wants to be bad?
I'll be good.
You'll be good? Okay. You're a good handler. And a volunteer to be a child. Oh.
Rush is already a child.
Yeah. All right. Yay, good child.
Yep. Not see him anymore. Yep.
He has lost sight.
You gotta look down.
So,
Hello.
now, of course, a lot of different things in this particular scenario that could be done a little bit better. As the fursuiter, with it being a child of this height, he of course would want to get down a little bit more on his level. Being on his level actually prevents the leg grab.
Yeah.
And now he's at a level where he's accessible to, but not so scary. And of course there's the interaction of a peekaboo and everything else. And of course you have proper action from the child, which the handler is handling fine. And then you have improper action by the kid. And in many cases on that, the handler could have been, no, you're going to hurt my friend, or something along those lines. Then we have bad handler. Actually, to make this changes up a little bit, go ahead and stay up here as a child and go ahead and move to the back and help him navigate to the front. Because we can show some of our classic examples of bad handler helping people navigate. Thumper, don't forget your cell phone. You might have gotten a text.
Oh, right,
Now, here you have an example of
yeah. So many chairs that I can't see. Oh, I thought you were. You go. You go. This.
Now, here you have the classic example of bad handler. Not really helping or watching out, not warning him of an onslaught from an oncoming kid, not stopping him any. Down, Thrash, down! Thank you. But as much as we kind of laugh about this, this does happen. We have had events where we've been out in the park and we've been undressing in the car and suddenly we realize that we have cigarette holes burned into tails. Yes. Molly?
Well, it happened to acid in public. It happened to me at a party. My beautiful tail. I love my tail. We had to cut out a section right here where someone was drunk and was just like, la da 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 da, not paying attention, sitting in a chair as I walked by. Obviously, in fursuit, I can't feel it back there.
Yeah.
And I didn't even notice. It was someone else. They're like, "There's a hole in your tail." I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" And I was like, "Ah, ah, ah."
That one was accidental. We had a more incidental incident where a child had tried to, not child, but teenager had lit or tried to light one of our suitors' tails. His acid fox came back to the bus and we noticed that some of his tail was scorched a little bit.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so that stuff has happened, unfortunately.
They're stupid. They could be paying $1,000 too because
Exactly.
they don't know how expensive that is.
No, they don't. They don't care because they didn't pay it themselves.
But I mean, if they ruin it and they do it on purpose, then they're gonna have to.
Well, that's one of the catches. You have to actually know who and what. But the handler can be prevented to begin with.
Right.
But the big aspect of it is there are people that have absolutely no regard for people in general. In the sense of our investments in suits, sure, it's $15,000, $2,000, $2,500, even $3,000 these days for some suits. The only people that have the true regard for that is A, another suitor who understands, or someone that actually builds them. Because honestly, the people in public don't recognize the difference between our suit or one in the mall or one that's at the spirit store. And so it's one of those regards that the handlers can help keep your suits safe. Howdy, howdy. Come on down. Plenty of room at the cheap seats. Oh, that's okay. We actually thought we were supposed to start later, too.
I'm a new handler. I'm late.
It's like we're actually getting more people the closer to the actual 5:30. But it's one of the things that very often, in a case of also with our group, we have handler shirts. Hard to tell with all the other crap I'm wearing at the moment, but it's very beneficial for identifying yourself in public as something that's supposed to be there. You have a bunch of people just in costumes. Are you supposed to be there? You're not supposed to be there. Another good example of benefit of being structured, using handlers and everything else was earlier, it's been nearly a year, after Irma, Molly, Sandemi over here, heard that the Brevard Humane Society was running low on food and thought, well, at one of our monthly parties, she's going to do a food drive, which was great. We got about a laundry basket worth of food and a lot of people donated money. And we thought, well, this is awkward. I guess we're going to have to go shopping. And someone in the party walked by me and they looked at me and went, there's no way Sam's Club is going to let you go in there with suitors. Sam's Club let us go in there with suitors. We actually went shopping with 7 people in full suit. We walked in with, I think, $350. The agents matched it. And when we walked out with $900 worth of food. Without the purpose of handlers and brand identity of having things identified and being structured, there's no way Sam would have let anyone just wander in and go shopping. But because we presented ourselves as a structured group with safety in mind and our credentials, not only did the manager go, yeah, sure, but he was the first person to be taking pictures. Of course, the public arrangement inside Sam's made it interesting because half the people acted like that happened every day. We're way too close to Disney for that to be extraordinary, I think. But the other half were very amused, and they helped contribute, and it made a good, interesting drop-off to the Humane Society. But the chief part about it is being safe. I'm starting to circle in the things. Does any of the other agents have anything that, to add that I might have overlooked about the importance of a handler, our unsung heroes?
The most important thing about a handler would be like safety is, as you guys saw, you can't see where he's going, especially in suits like his with a big nose. kids are. Guess where kids' faces are when they come running up to you. Boom! And you're like, whoa, hello, hello? Or, you know, I'm notorious for knocking over chairs at every event. I'm just like, these are not good. I am. Also, I'm tired. But I don't know. It's really safety for yourself, safety for the public. Cause like people walking around in animal costumes isn't really normal outside of conventions and stuff. So if there's just like one or two of you walking around, people may be like, "What is this? What?" But you have a handler. You have like something like Tim's shirt with the animal control. It gives you a presence of like, okay, they're doing something. Like it's not just weird people walking around wearing masks and making me feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So you have a handler to kind of relay to be like, no, we're here for a purpose. It's all good.
Now, actually, one of the little quirkier things about our animal handler shirts, we had an event in the park where we had about 16 fursuiters running around. They're on the playground equipment with the kids. They're running around chasing a giant ball. And someone walks up to one of our animal handlers and go, "There's so many animal handlers here. Is there a problem?" And they're kind of going, "You didn't notice the 5-foot raccoon behind you?" But it does help with that identification when you're out in public. You guys got anything, or?
I have a question.
Sure.
Do you sell the animal control shirts?
Occasionally I do. I don't actually have any spares currently,
That's fine.
but I'm actually working on finding a place where I can get a large enough volume so that we can. I have sold them in the past, and actually, you'll notice one floating around today is actually a mother. A mother had bought one last year from Dallas, Texas, and whenever her daughter goes out, they actually she wears it as she handles for her daughter. Yes, sir.
So that shirt that you're wearing, is that the only kind of handler shirt that you wear, or do you have other variants perhaps that you've thought of in the past?
For the agents, I've primarily gone with this color pattern and style. Some of our newer ones actually have the agents logo on the back as well, but a couple of our more creative handlers have actually started incorporating animal control into their other cosplay and their own color patterns. So it's kind of an interesting gimmick that's gone with it, especially for fursuiting. It's a little bit more interesting when you have like Joy from Inside Out suddenly wearing an animal control shirt and Joy's color pattern, complete with glitter. But I mean, she does it, and it works out really well. And it just kind of stuck, since a majority of our group is me speaking good or English, are fursuiters, as opposed to we're not as diverse on cosplayers, at least for us yet. But it kind of stuck really well for us when we're in public. Yes.
I was just gonna elaborate. Like, obviously, the animal control shirt or anything like that isn't like totally necessary. It does give you a better like
Presence.
legitimacy, yeah, in your presence. But we also have people where they wear normal clothes and stuff like that. And I made a little while back for some of our regular handlers, like Thumper here. I think that was before we really had the animal control shirt, so we had like maybe one or two. You don't have it. I made handler badges. So, because a lot of times, like in suit, we can't talk, or we don't talk in suit, and we get a lot of questions. And so I made badges that had kind of like a caution tape around them, so it would catch people's attention, and it says like official handler, and it had like Agents of Mirth on it, and then people would be like, oh, okay, so this guy, I can talk to this guy, he knows what's going on here. And I think that helps a lot with like identifying people. You can just get like a little name tag, be like, ask me questions, I know.
It works a lot too when you're at conventions and you have the handlers like us that are having that badge, because when you're going to a headless lounge and you still have a fursuiter that you're trying to help out, it actually works out to the fact that they'll be like, oh, you're handling for them and you don't have to tell me, I can see it right there, go ahead.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Pat.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they don't want to let you in, because a lot of people will. The fursuit lounge sometimes can be. A lot of times people don't like people to know what they look like outside of suit, or people leave their suits in there. So a lot of times security is like paramount for headless lounges. Yes. So a lot of people will try to walk in with suitors and pretend to be handlers and stuff like that. When the suitors don't notice, and if they're not doing security very well, people just walk in and be very, discerning. So maybe having something that says like handler,
That makes sense.
you know,
Yeah.
then they're like, oh, okay, all right. So sometimes.
Hello.
Pretty good.
Hug.
I wonder if it says online.
Yeah, I've actually been talking for a while because we actually started at 5, not 5:30.
No, that's what I'm saying.
On
I
the
wonder.
map it says bio.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
5 to 6.
Yeah, we oopsed. A lot of us thought 5:30 for some reason.
Where did you post it? 5 minutes.
And we're getting more. Hello.
I wonder if it
We're
says-
getting enough people I might have to start back over from the beginning. Come on in, guys.
The battle update, do I go to the panel or the dinner?
For those of you who are just joining us, welcome. We're actually discussing the unsung heroes, handlers, those who speak, those who direct, those who help keep us suitors safe. We've covered a lot on how they're able to help us navigate by pointing out obstacles within our way. We've mentioned how, for those of us who don't speak, they're able to speak for us and answer a lot of those questions like, why are you here? What is this? It's been a, I'm running out of steam today. One of those things, I'd actually like to point out one of our new members back there who is staring at me, looking at me going, oh God, no, don't. This is Pete Wells. He actually joined us about a month ago. He's actually a steampunk cosplayer who, while he is in steampunk, he actually serves as a handler for us, which allows him to cosplay while we're out. And he's actually done a remarkable job of actually keeping in character while handling. So you have him, he'll actually do this remarkable Scottish accent while he talks about his furry friends and what they like and don't like don't like children punching them and do like hugs and high fives and fist bumps. Yes, have to keep the raccoon away from the trash can. But without recapping or regurgitating too much, does anyone have any questions? Anyone? Bueller? Yeah. Do any of the other agents have anything to add?
I don't know without just kind of like
I mean,
saying pretty much what we've been saying. What you got,
the
Bucky?
most important thing is, of course, is to be able to find yourself a handler, somebody that you're going to trust to take care of yourself as much as possible. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My brother acts as my handler as bio for the past year and a half. He's my brother. He knows everything about me, so he can take care of me just fine. And
Yeah, we already did
understand
signs.
Any stress or any concerns with the suit, something like that. So friends, family, girlfriends, boyfriends, anyone that you know you can trust that can read you and direct you is going to be able to help you out substantially while you're in suit. So it's always important to find someone like that.
I had something to add. If you are handling, prepare to hold things.
Yeah. Awesome enough.
Like, just get a backpack. Actually, one of the most useful things. So, I usually suit with my little sister, Tater Bunny. You guys might have seen her running around. She's a white pink rabbit gecko thing. And her boyfriend Pat is usually our handler at like conventions and things like that.
And pack mule.
What's that?
And pack mule.
And pack mule. He is our pack mule, 100%.
Pack mule.
So he decided he was tired of carrying all our crap in his pockets. I'm like, hold my wallet, hold my phone, hold this. I mean, girls' pants don't have pockets, so like, I can't carry anything. Not to mention, can't really do much in paws. So he was tired of carrying it. He got a backpack that has a water bladder in it. Oh, you guys, if you handle a lot, like Pat does, invest in one. I swear to you. Because as you saw, the one suitor that was here trying to shove a straw into her face, or trying to shove, like someone trying to shove a water bottle in her mouth, it's a pain in the butt. And I know with my suit, it's a partial, it has a small neck. It takes me a minute to get in and out of my head. It's a pain. I don't want to take it off because I just want water. I don't need to take the whole head off, all that jazz. So, Pat got a backpack that not only doubles to hold all of our stuff that we need, everything, phones, cameras, wallets, business cards, anything.
I'm going to role play with Mac. Here, hold my baby. I need you to interject as the handler of, oh, why don't I take that picture for you and you can hold the baby.
Okay.
It works out because me and my sister were sisters.
I'm going to role play you as a suitor and me as the mom handing the baby to you to hold.
Whereas otherwise,
and
some
have
shark,
him as
got
a
lot of
handler
teeth.
interject.
Granted, my
No,
mouth
wait.
is open pretty big, so I can shove a water bottle in it, but some people can't. And I'm in there and I'm like, trying not to knock my teeth out because I did knock my teeth out a few times doing that.
It freaks kids out too. I know that shoving a water bottle in your first.
It does. Or people, it either scares them or laugh. They laugh.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, or they're like, that was really funny. He's over there drinking his water bottle. You silly animal. Yeah. So if you handle, prepare to carry things, bring a backpack.
Now,
Always bring a backpack and carry water with your for your friends.
Yeah.
now, you also did inadvertently remind me of one thing, which is worth role-playing a little bit. We got Mac here, who is Bo Goat. I'm going to be the excited mom. Oh my God, you're so cute! Here, hold my baby for a picture!
So, rule of thumb is that we never hold the baby. Never. So, for obvious reasons. Paws don't tend to hold very well. Bo barely has paws. They're more like hooves, so he's got like 3 fingers going on there. So,
3 fingers.
in the event that somebody wants them to hold a baby,
Hold my baby! Hold
why
it!
don't
Hold.
you hold the baby and I can take the picture for you?
Oh, okay.
Stand right there, yeah. So that was the best way to handle that sort of situation, but we...
You think it'll never come up?
It will.
Yeah.
It absolutely will.
It's really weird when it does.
In some situations, it won't even be holding a child. It'll be a child that wants a picture with you, and the parent's ready to take the picture and everything, and they're a little short. So Tim, you're short enough.
So say I'm in suit and we're getting ready to take a picture. The way that I would do it, I'll do it wrong first. So this would be the wrong way.
That's kind of creepy if it's a child and a grown man and has a 7-foot-tall goat.
Mommy, I feel a lump in my back.
Yeah. Plus, as Tim was doing, Tim, yeah, he does like to swing his arms, but kids like to swing their arms too.
Yeah.
And that can get physically damaging for obvious reasons. So what we tend to do is keep kids on the outside of our legs like this, so there's no way it can be misconstrued, and then we'll just lean in and pose with the kid with our hands up and visible, so that way there's no confusion whatsoever about your intentions.
So always outside the knees, hands up top.
I just had something to add as a handler so a lot of times you'll get this too, and it's really awkward. It's when a kid is terrified of you, and their parent does not care. Their parent's like, go stand over there, I'm gonna get a picture of you. And that kid is like ready to cry, and you're just like, no, it's okay. You know, but you don't know what to do. That's a good time for handlers to be like, hey, let's go over here, look at that. Because it's really good if like the handler gets into, especially if you're around kids. Not everyone's going to suit around kids, I get that. But if you are around kids, it's good to get into character and be like, oh, you know, the shark needs to go back in the water for a little bit and like take you away.
Yeah, sort of fitting in with character, not only the character of the suitor, but if you're cosplaying yourself, like Pete does, it's awesome for that person to be in their character and keep that other character's personality and get them out of a situation very quickly.
If a kid doesn't want to take a picture with you and their parents are insisting and you feel awkward just walking away because their parents are like, stand there and take a picture with them. If a handler's like, oh, we have to go over, you know, the diversion thing that
Yeah.
you've done your entire life to avoid people.
It's easier than a smoke grenade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing that we've recently become, actually involving kids and being suitors, that we've recently come to an illuminated thought on is, can I borrow your head for a second? We've recently come to the very simple realization that most of us see our fursuit characters like this.
How nice, how cute, how precious.
Thank you. What a child sees is this. Nothing but the mouth.
Helped me in the end when the kid was getting ready to rip my tail off the back of my suit. I would have just had to have repaired a $2,000 suit. So handlers are the best thing you can ever have with you when you're suiting.
It didn't stop them that one time when they ripped off your belt, though.
Yeah.
I have that footage.
That was really funny. I was kind of mad about that.
Gentlemen's got a question.
Yes.
If you're going to be a handler, don't just watch yours. Watch the other ones too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We were
100%.
at MegaCon. There's a guy in there in a full padded dragon suit. And he was sitting at a table. And it was the only table that had any seats. So I walked up and go, hey man, can we join you? And he's sitting there about to pass out. And I'm going, you okay? He goes, I got real hot. I said, well, you had anything in your drink? No, I can't. I just don't feel like getting up and going to get a drink. I said, just stay there. Get them a drink. A lot of times they're so hot they can't get around. They've done sat down and that's where they're going to be at.
Yeah.
So kind of watch for all the other furry friends running around out there.
Yeah.
Not just the ones that are with you.
That's excellent advice. When you're handling, you're not only handling for yourself, you're also handling for everyone else around you. If you see someone in a situation that you could help with, always step up and help, because everyone can always use an extra hand.
Another thing to remember as a handler, you have to listen and look at the people around you. If there are people giving you the stink eye or saying expletive furries, you might want to pull your people away from those people.
Yeah, we've had a couple incidents where people will sort of start to bash us, and Molly got a cigarette put out on her tail.
Yeah, we covered that.
Yeah, Acid got his tail lit on fire. There's always a danger of people reacting negatively, and handlers are an amazing way to stay clear of that sort of situation.
You need to wrap up with final comments or questions.
Yeah, any final questions or comments?
And guess not. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out and joining us. We do have some other panels throughout the weekend as well. If you'd like to help support us on our initiative to get all our agents trained in first aid, we are selling raffle tickets in the dealer's den. We've got a vacation package for SeaWorld for 4. We're doing $10 a ticket for that for 100 tickets. And then we're following it up with a 4-person package for Aquatica. Any support would be appreciated. That's our gratuitous self-endorsement there. Other than that, hope you all have a great Megaplex and keep it safe. Oh. Come on up with a question. What's up?
Well, like in that case, if there's, you know, like, I guess what you guys had mentioned that there was a group of teenage boys and they were getting a little too, you know, hostile.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you work with that?
Usually it's really great to avoid confrontation, because you can make things a lot worse if you go up and say, hey, don't say that about them, and things like that, because they can react a lot more poorly to being called out on something. It's usually more safe to just ignore them and take your group of people that you're handling for away from them and make sure that they're away from them.
I actually have almost an opposite opinion. Sometimes I'm a big fan of public shaming. But you have to be able to read your crowd and garner what type of response you're going to get. I mean, with little children, lots of times if you, oh, you're hurting my friend, why are you doing that? So it depends a lot on the circumstance.
It really just depends on the crowd. Generally, I would say avoid the conflict, because it can result in a lot of negative actions.
Yeah. Okay.
What I was gonna say is, yeah, usually it's avoiding conflict. I've seen people, like, when we were at the park, we actually have like an off-duty police officer that's there with us. So if anyone has something to say to us, it's like we're
There's
supposed to
a
be here. However, a lot of times I've noticed, particularly with crowds of teenage boys, they're trying to impress each other, and the second that an adult, especially someone that's a handler, not someone in suit, has anything to say to them or comes up and like looks them in the eye and is like, I notice you, you know? A lot of times they'll back off. They're not so brave once they're confronted. Because when you're in a suit, it's not only anonymity feelings for you, but for them, because they're looking not at a human face, so they're just like, oh, what is this, you know, loser, and they're dressed like a dog or whatever. And but a handler can step in and be like, can I help you? And a lot of times they'll just be like, no, and they'll leave you alone. So yeah, that's another way the handlers help, because you bring that like human face, and most people aren't as brave as they pretend to be in front of their friends.
The same thing actually happens with small children too, but it's a bit different. Usually if they're like teenagers, if there's a whole bunch of them in a group, they usually won't screw around that much. with small children, it ramps up as there are more of them unless they're being paid attention to.
Yeah.
There's actually a really neat video of it. Like she was saying, the second you have a full suit on, or even partials depending on your outfit, like the human ability part of it goes away for them. It's a study where they had a robot security guard at a shopping mall, and they actually had to program the robot to run away from small children because they would come over and beat it up and kick it all the time.
Yeah. It's like Lord of the Flies.
Alright. Awesome, thank you.
Awesome. If there aren't any more questions, thank you guys for coming out. Sorry I was late.
Yeah, we will be having, if you guys want to see another panel like this, specifically regarding to making fursuits, fixing fursuits and stuff like that, we will be having a panel like that for Sunday with Asset Fox and his crew, so that will also be another thing to talk about. So.
And if you have any worries about social anxiety or overcoming any obstacles mentally, I am having a panel about that on 8 p.m. on Saturday.
Can I plug my panel too?
Yes.
I feel like it's related.
Yeah, it is.
If you guys are sick of hearing people talking crap about furries and you'd like to just be open about your hobbies with your friends and family, come to my panel tomorrow at 2:30 called Well Everyone, I'm a Furry. And we'll talk about how to deal with people who have the wrong idea about what we do.
Welcome to PanelCon.
Yeah, panel.
Thank you guys.